Wilson is 4 of 4 on this drive. Harris has the majority of the yards for the team so far. Pickens, catch, run, slips out of there. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. The elusive George Pickens.
Oh, ain't that the word for that guy, right? The elusive, enigmatic George Pickens. Turns out he's actually hurt. Adam Schefter with some information yesterday on the Pat McAfee show saying that Pickens woke up on Friday with a tight hamstring, didn't really practice. Then he was listed as questionable. Then on Saturday went through the walkthrough, didn't feel quite right, and then I guess they tested it out, not on the field, but they tested it out a little bit on Sunday, and so that's why he didn't play. Jerry Dulac reports that it's a grade 2 hamstring strain, meaning that he's going to, at least according to this report, miss the Eagles game. Something quite still doesn't add up, though, Dorin. A, not good news if he's going to miss the Eagles game. That makes climbing that mountain all the harder. But if it's a grade 2 strain, he never even should have been listed as questionable.
Right.
Mike Tomlin's interview with Tracy Wolfson, he basically alluded to the guy playing against the Browns. If it's a grade 2 strain, if they've known it's a grade 2 strain, he was never going to play against the Browns.
Right.
Scotty Miller was told 5 minutes before the inactives came out that he was going to play and was totally taken aback and surprised by it. Now he's a professional, so he was ready to go, and he contributed, and he helped. But if it's grade 2, why did they treat it like he might play in the game? That's the part that I don't understand.
Catch the Browns off guard, maybe. Play that game. I don't know.
Yeah, but it sounds like it caught the team off guard, and they certainly didn't play like they had a Pickens-less game plan in the first half, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they stunk offensively. I'm not saying, like, I'm past the whole conspiracy thing. Maybe Dulac's got his medical mumbo-jumbo verbiage wrong, but that part is weird. The big story is, if true, he's not going to play against the Eagles. They're a 4.5, 5-point dog, depending on where you look. God, does it make it a lot harder to beat that team without him?
It makes it way harder. I mean, grade 2 sprain, it could be taken both ways. I mean, it could be like, Nick Herbig grade 2 sprain where you're only out a week or two, or it could be like the Alex Highsmith. It could be a little bit longer.
Right.
So
bad time, too. 3 games, 11 days.
3 games, 11 days, and then you're taking that into account, too. So you figure if he does sit this game, you would hope that he'd be back to for a game that you really need, and you really could clinch a lot of things, and that's the Baltimore Ravens game. So grade 2, it's just weird. Yeah, it is weird. So wait, he sat out Friday's practice, right?
Yeah, or I guess he was out there. I talked to somebody who was at practice, and this is great because they're not allowed to, I don't think, report what they see at practice unless a player directly tells them. But hey, I wasn't there, so I can do the hearsay thing. He was walking around, jogged a bit, was wearing his stuff, but that's it. Didn't take part in any 11-on-11, even though it's like 50% speed, if that. He didn't participate.
So he did it Thursday.
Right. So he woke up on Friday and said, something doesn't quite feel right with the hammy. And then he spoke, which they usually don't let guys speak if they're not going to play. So it is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to say that Tomlin, when he gets on the mic today at noon for his press conference, is going to give us a little something. You're not going to get much. We will know what the deal is for Sunday. I don't think he's going to retroactively go back and tell us all the steps and all the things that happened last week. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Do you think it'll be on Hard Knocks?
Great question. I hope we get some answers. I hope it's not just Tomlin porn again.
Right.
I enjoyed the Tomlin porn. It had me consume, I bleep you not, 1,500 calories worth of Fritos last week. I mean, it really did. I had so many Fritos last week. But I'd like to get some info, too. And I don't know that we're going to get the Pickens info. Probably not. They like to keep those things secret, and they have final say, and so it's probably not going to come out exactly what went down.
Man, they used to do that stuff, though, on Hard Knocks. I mean, you'd see a guy that was hurt and maybe on the bubble and going to get cut and says my ankle's all messed up, then they go on IR, then they get an injury release or something like that. I mean, I know that they have creative control. I just need to patch some things together because one, yesterday, I think we either said it on air or off air, it's a weird time to get a hamstring pull.
Mm-hmm.
Because practice is practice, but it's not training camp practice where you can get those pulls and it's new.
You're not going from 0 to 100.
You're in football shape right now.
Yeah, and you've got to practice speed, I'm guessing.
Yes.
You're very familiar with it. Your body's very familiar with it.
And then, to wake up after Thursday, not practice, but to speak, but then to say that he's possibly going to play to test it out, but not test it out on the field on Sunday. But then you also have Saturday where you're probably testing it out too, right?
Right. Saturday's where they were like, it doesn't quite feel great. But then you would have felt like Tomlin would have told Tracy Wolfson, he's not going to go. But he didn't. That part, I guess, could have been gamesmanship. I don't know. It's all kind of bizarre. It really is. What I will rule out, I think, at this point is any disciplinary element.
No, yeah.
It seems like he's hurt. Texter, I don't believe what Jerry says. He's more wrong than right. Texter, we're still trusting Dulac reports, LMAO. Look, I get where you're coming from. He was dead wrong with the Kenny stuff this offseason and with the Russ stuff and with the Field stuff and with the Canada stuff last year. I think the injury deal is different. Like, he's getting fed that.
Yes.
From somebody who would be in the know. Here's my prediction from Tomlin today. We're going to let participation and the quality of the participation be our guide. We will leave the light on for him. He will be limited in the early portions of the week. That's what we're going to get. Can they beat the Eagles without him?
Yeah.
Of course they can.
For sure.
Of course they can. It was going to be tough with him. It's going to be tough without him. This is the NFL, though, after all. And the Panthers were a dropped touchdown in the final minutes of the game against Philadelphia away from tying that thing up and potentially sending it to overtime. The Panthers. Now, they've been playing much better football, but what are they, 3-10? It's the NFL. The Eagles have won 9 in a row. They're due for a loss because everyone in this league is due for a loss if they've won that many games in a row. You are a quality football team with a highly paid defense. They've got some infighting going on, which we'll get to later on in the hour here. I don't know that it's likely. I don't know that that's going to be my prediction. But you can't write the Steelers off just because they don't have George. They can suck the Eagles into the depths of hell, a la what they do all the time against the Baltimore Ravens. Like, that wouldn't shock me. Like, I think the Steelers are going to try to play this game on their terms. They're going to run the ball a lot. Philly wants to run the ball a lot. It's going to be a limited possession game. You're going to try not to turn it over, and you're going to try to win this thing, 17-13. And I think they can. But I think now the path to victory becomes more narrow. There were different ways that you could win with Pickens. I don't know how many avenues you have without him.
Well, this is why you say the Steelers have a balanced football team, and maybe the most balanced football team in the NFL. And you hear not just us say that, but you hear Tony Romo say that. You hear Charles Woodson, as we played yesterday, say that this team's probably the most balanced team in the NFL. This is where the balance comes in, because this is a game where you're going to have to rely on your defense to make plays, to stop Saquon Barkley, to stop Jalen Hurts, to stop A.J. Brown, and to drag this game into the mud. And then you could just rely on what your really identity is, and that's running the football the majority of this football game. So it's okay to ask your balanced football team in a section of that balance to win the game for you, and especially one of the highest paid defenses. It's okay for them to go win this game. They've won games in the past couple of years, a lot, for the Steelers to stay afloat of just competing throughout a season with Kenny Pickett and with Matt Canada. They've asked this defense to do that. They can ask this defense to do that for one game coming up here on Sunday.
You're right about that.
They can do that. Minka Fitzpatrick can do that. This can be that game, right? We've been calling for Minka Fitzpatrick's name all year.
You're right, and I can't sit here and pretend like I didn't just see what I saw on Sunday either. The first half, it looked real bad. But the Steelers sputtered, 4 3-and-outs in the first quarter, first half, and still put up 27 points. Now, you're at home, and this Browns defense ain't this Eagles defense. You got to go on the road. Haven't won there since 65. We know that. It's been 10 times. We know that. But it's not like the offense stunk. The last 3 years, if the Steelers put up 27 points, we'd have been walking up in here. Like who's the wrestling guy? He walks in here like
Vince McMahon.
Thank you, Vince McMahon. Or we'd be like the dude in South Park with his nuts in the wheelbarrow. Like, well, the Steelers scored 27. Like, this is pretty good. Now we're like, man, they had a bunch of 3-and-outs, and they had to fumble with Cordero Patterson, and it was ugly. Hell, man, they could have scored 34 points. They knelt down on the ball at the 6-yard line at the end of the game. So I don't want to pretend like the offense can't still do things without Pickens, but it was going to be tough for them to win either way, and it's going to be even tougher without him.